Stop playing the 4-3-1-2, Kev. It's never going to work in the Premier League, Kev. Kev, change tactics, Kev. Diamond, Kev. 4-2-3-1, Kev. Last three results, 6-1, 4-1, 5-1. One of them was against Real Madrid. Hello and welcome to Season 19, Episode 6 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we've got the final group game in the Champions League against Angers. I think that's how I was told to pronounce it. Angers. Who knows? That's the last time I'll attempt to say it. And then we're away against Brentford as well. And of course, we all know that Brentford were the heroes of last season and were solely responsible for us making it into the Champions League when they beat Manchester United on the last day by more than we lost by. So, since you're last with me, we've played a little bit more of the game than I was expecting to play, and it's all because we won our Champions League group, I think. We certainly qualified from the Champions League group sooner than expected. I was expecting this video to be that, we make it out of the Champions League group, which is why I thought I'd play the Real Madrid one offline and then do this one, because it would be a big, important game. But what's actually happened is, just there, against Crystal Palace, we decided that we remembered how to play the 4-3-1-2 after all. We absolutely smashed them after a quite respectable draw against Chelsea, but we absolutely smashed Palace. Then we smashed Real Madrid. Then we smashed West Ham away. Yes, away. We used the 4-3-1-2 away from home and didn't lose. So hopefully this is the return of attacking, flowing, awesome football. The league situation at the moment, this is how the Premier League looks. I know it looks awful, but hopefully if we can get a little run of form together now, we will start to move up there. As you can see, he's finally earned his name. Cotton Eye Joe is a thing that exists. And, I mean, he's got seven goals in those 3 games. But his hat-trick against Palace finally earned him the nickname of Cotton Eye Joe. And he's the second highest scorer in the Premier League at the moment, which is a rather splendid feat. Hopefully he keeps up that kind of goal-scoring prowess, and that should force us up the league table. But as it stands at the moment, we're in 11th after 13 games, only 5 points outside of the Champions League places. So it's no reason to panic at all at the moment, as long as we keep the run of form going that we've started over the last couple of games, because we are finally moving in the right direction again. Champions League wise, this is what the group looks like if we find our group. So 5 games in, 1 to go. We've got 4 wins and 1 loss from our 5 games, a goal difference of +9, sitting on 12 points. Real Madrid and Dortmund are both below us, so I assume that means, I think the Champions League works by head-to-head games, doesn't it? So I think, mind you, we wouldn't know because we've got more points than them. We might not have won the group yet, I'm not really sure. You'd like to think, though, that we should be able to pick up at least a draw against Angers today. And they're the team that, they've lost every game. If we can get at least a draw, neither Madrid or Dortmund can catch us. And they play each other in what is basically a playoff between the 11-time Champions League winners and the current holders, because we've scuppered one of their sets of plans by qualifying from the group early. So this is the team that we're going to be playing against Angers. It's slightly rotated because we've already qualified from the group. We only need to go there for a draw. We don't need to play everybody. We're playing most of the superstars, but we're rotating a little bit and trying a few things out as well. So we've got Diaz back in on goal, because Diaz is angling for a move away from the club. He wants first-team football, but he also wants to win the Champions League. He's trying to push for a move to Paris Saint-Germain. It might be his last game for the club. We might have Kevin Thompson back on the bench again for the second half of the season, with Igor keeping nets. But Igor drops to the bench today for Diaz to come in. Our back 4 is probably where the most changes have happened. So we've got Nyhouse as really the only recognised regular starter. Welsh and Caetano play a lot of games though, and Brune's going to get a rare start out at right back. We're trying Oscar in midfield because Sir Brian has been in just incredible form, and I can't bring myself to drop my £72 million summer signing. I've tried him up front, but he wants to play as the complete forward, where Vendrick's having such a good season. Cotton Eye Joe's scoring goals for fun, so he can't really fit in there. So we're now going to try him in the midfield 3 and see if he can find a home there. Otherwise, we might be in the situation where he drops out of the team for a little while because everyone else is playing so well at the moment. But he's going to be in midfield with Sedman and Ziyech, actually trying Sedman as the defensive midfielder in the middle today. And, he can defend a little bit better than most of the options we've tried there. He's still not a holding midfield player, but he's worth a try. And then we've got the aforementioned Sir Brian, Vendrick and Cotton Eye Joe as our front 3. Let's get into this game. hopefully continue our incredible run of goal-scoring form that we've been on. I have been enjoying it very much for the last 3 games. It's been like being Ipswich manager all over again in that season when we did really, really well. Yes, we're rotating the squad. Yes, let's get into the game. Let's go and score a big pile of goals. If it ends up being a boring 0-0 or a stupid, narrow, worthless defeat, I'll be very sad. I'm hoping it's going to be a goal fest today because we've earned one. With all these goals we've been scoring lately, we need to keep this run of awesome form going. And now, Real Madrid are already ahead in their game. So as it stands at the moment, we can claim we're responsible for the holders of the Champions League being knocked out because we beat them. Yes, they beat us as well, but we beat them more. And Real Madrid have beaten them twice, I think. That we scored a goal while I was waffling on about that as well. I think it was Caetano from a corner. We'll have a look at it in 3D. So Ziyech gets the corner in, and it's Welsh nods it on to Caetano, who, I mean, it's not the best header in the world. It's straight at the keeper at head height. You'd expect him to be able to save it. He spectacularly doesn't. They're on a goal difference of -13. You're not going to expect him to save an awful lot. They're another one of the teams who are in for Diaz, actually. They quite fancy having a proper goalkeeper. Nyhouse with the chance to cross finds Oscar, who's sat very deep, obviously, and it ends up with Sir Brian. It ends up with Sir Brian, and he scores an absolute screamer and reminds Oscar that that's how you play as the attacking midfield player. I mean, Oscar and Vendrick did combine nicely, but Sir Brian is just not messing about. Just first time on his weak foot. He's probably left-footed, but I don't care. It's his left foot. It should always be described as the weak foot. And it's just a cracking finish. And straight away, again, he's the best player on the pitch. He's already scored. There's no logic to Sir Brian. He was excellent last season. He's been excellent again this season. If you look at the star ratings, I think he's only 2.5, 3 star. There is no logic to why he is so good. And we even spent all that money replacing him in the summer because if you look at the star ratings, he looks like the weak link. Vendrick makes it 3. Excellent. But he's just not. Without Sir Brian in the team, we are not as good. And that might even be why we had such a dodgy start to the season because we were trying to fit Oscar into the new system because we spent so much money on him. Dropped Sir Brian, who was one of the key players of last year. Sir Brian comes back into the side. Suddenly, we start winning and scoring goals again, and he's the in-form player. So, what that's taught me is play the one who's not very good and don't spend money on wonder kids anymore. We've conceded a goal. We're not going to worry about it too much because it's only Diaz in goal. They're not going to come back and get back into this game, surely. Although we've left him in an awful lot of space. So that's just poor defending from both our centre-backs. I know it's a backup centre-back partnership, but they're both established international players. One of them's our club captain. They play a lot of games between the two of them. Although Eriksson and Plotnikov we spent a lot of money on, and they are our first choice for big games, it's probably one of the positions where I rotate the most. Which is probably why they're not settled. I wonder if we just had a settled defence, would they stop being so rubbish? Who knows? Answers on a postcard or down in the comments, whichever you prefer. But what was I saying? Defenders, not very good. Need some good ones. Caetano nearly scored again. It was basically the same set piece. Cross comes in, Welsh nods on, Caetano tries to score, but this time fails. So Brian taking a free kick doesn't really get anywhere, but Brune lumps it back in. Vendrick can't get there, and now they've got a little bit of a counter-attack on. And again, they've made Welsh look a little bit rubbish there, because they've pretty much spun him around in a circle. I know he was really the only man back, and he is a long way back, could argue, playing everyone on side. But you can even see him spinning around there. He doesn't know what's going on. He's trying to mark 2 players at the same time. And even on a good day, he struggles to mark 1. I don't know how he's sat there on an 8 rating. He's certainly at fault for that second goal. But maybe he's not. Maybe I know nothing. Sedman, the experiment of playing him there has failed. We even tried playing Sandy Patson there I think it was in an EFL Cup game, because he's another one who just can't get in the team at the moment, which is a struggle. It's not a struggle, it's a problem. In fact, I think we'll bring Wagner on, and we're going to stick Oscar up front with Vendrig. We'll do that and give both Anicic and Wagner some game time, because so tempted to do that just for the wrath of the comments, but we'll leave it that way around. Anicic, I'm trying to reinvent him as a defensive midfield player because it's the only way he ever gets in the team at the moment, which is a shame because if Ziyech didn't exist, Anicic would be a world beater by now, because whenever he comes into the team as a playmaker, he looks really, really good, just not as good as Ziyech. We'll bring Undai on for the last 10 minutes. We need to be a little bit wary that we don't concede 2 goals in these last 10 minutes. A draw, I'm not at all bothered by, although momentum and morale-wise, it would be nice to pick up a 4th win on the bounce. But we win the group with a draw. We've won the game anyway. We don't need to worry. Let's backtrack 4 or 5 episodes to the fear we all had when that Champions League group was drawn. And now, ridiculously, especially when you take into context how poor the start of the Premier League season has been, ridiculously, we've won the group. Not only have we won the group, we've had one of the best performances, points-wise, of any team in the competition in the group stages. Only Man City and Chelsea have scored more points than us in the group stage, and we were in a group with Real Madrid and Dortmund. See, I can do this, manager luck. Watch me go and lose to Brentford now. Tactical news, I have been training this. It's coming, but we've won 4 games in a row, so it's not coming yet. We're going to carry on with this until we start losing games. You'll all be happy to know Wagner's back in the team today in his central midfielder defend position. We've not seen him there for so long. He's back. Other than that, we don't feel the need to make a massive amount of changes. Hansel can come in for Nyhouse at left back just for a bit of a rest, and Dye comes in for Bruno. I'm not going to change the centre backs over because, I moaned about him in the last game, but look at those ratings over the last 5 games. How can I drop them? Wagner comes into the midfield. Other than that, everything else is unchanged. Let's get into the game. I really want to buy a right winger. It's top of my shopping list for January, and there is a big pile of cash to spend in January. The only problem is we don't have any wage budget free. So, our players are tired, but who cares? That was the gist of that. So what I'm thinking is we need to sell one of our central midfielders in January, if we can. We don't necessarily need to sell them for a lot of money because we've got about £12 million of spensies already, and there's another 10 or 12 going to be coming in clauses before we hit the transfer window opening, because all those players we sold last summer, Ara, Sturber, the left back whose name I forget, there's about another £15 million of transfer clauses coming in when they hit 50 games, and that's going to happen any time now. They're all like 1 game away. Vendrick makes it 1-0. Marvellous. So we're potentially, even without selling a player, got about £30 million to spend, but we need to free up some wage budget. Medor would make sense because he's on a lot of money, but we'd have to sell him at a huge loss. You lot would slaughter me. And there's always the whole, if we want to play with an actual defensive midfield player, he's still the only one we've got at the club, really. So he needs to stay. Anicic is my man. I discovered him, so he has to stay. Sedman wants to leave, but he's a World Cup winner and he's brilliant. I know he's getting on a bit, but he wants to leave. If we get an offer from, I think it's Paris Saint-Germain who are after him as well, if they come in and offer silly money for him, we'll probably let Sedman go. But if not, Wagner is the obvious one. But I wouldn't be against letting Sedman leave and having Wagner and Anicic fight for his spot either, with them both being that much younger. So either way, we're going to try and get rid of one of the central midfielders in January and reinvest that money in a right winger. Because a right winger allows us to use either of the 4-3-3 or the 4-2-3-1 properly. We can have Oscar out on the left. He's quite happy playing there. And also Cotton Eye Joe, Vendrig, they can both play out on the left wing as well. But the only player we've got who can play on the right wing is Sedlacek. He's had his 1 season of awesome. He's been terrible this season, no matter what position I've played him in. So he's not the answer down that right wing. In fact, I might even look to sell him as well. See if we can still trick anybody into giving us 15 million for him, based on him being our top scorer last year. And in fact, I don't know if I mentioned it at the time, but he's actually the top Tottenham goal scorer in a season since the save began. So across 19 seasons, no Tottenham player has scored as many goals as Sedlacek did last year. Ijo's already more than halfway there this season, as is Vendrig. So I'd like to think they'll both beat that this year. But when we've got Nole at the club as well, and then you've got Oscar and Anicic who can both play up front, I don't think we need Sedlacek as a 5th striker. So perhaps we move him on, move either Sedman or Wagner on, bring in a right winger, maybe a young understudy right winger as well, just in case, or is buying 2 of them overkill. Perhaps we sell a midfielder plus Sedlacek, bring in a winger, and that be our January business, and then we reassess in the summer. But I certainly think we need a winger. We need a wide system for the Champions League knockout rounds. I'm not mad enough to think this will work then. We are going to switch to this now. I know we're winning, but I'm going to... Why is it not going to let me... There we go. We're going to take Ijo off because he's not having the best of games. And, hold on, let's work out who we're bringing on. So Vendrick's going to go up front. I think it'll probably be Oscar who comes on for him. Although, this is where we have this right winger problem again. Anicic can play right midfield. We don't have anybody who can go out onto that right wing. Can Anicic go out there? No. Can Oscar go out there? Ish. That might have to do. And then I still want to take off Cotton Eye Joe. So, we don't have enough wide players. That's the problem. Who have we got who can play on the left now? Can Sir Brian do it? Sort of. And then we can bring Sandy Patterson on. And we'll do this. I mean, this looks like I'm asking for Brentford to come back into the game because I'm playing a really weird, unbalanced system that doesn't suit our players at all, really. But we've got to try these things out. We've been training it for a little while. They're, in theory, very comfortable with playing it, but we've never actually played it. And this seems like the kind of game to just try it out a little bit, see what it looks like. This isn't the combination of players that will be in it when we do it for real, probably. But it's worth exploring. So Brian's not having the best of games. But this is where we have that problem again. We've got no one to come on for him. We'll stick Vendrig out there. And then Anicic can come on and play as a complete forward, maybe. I mean, that front four is nuts at the moment. Just silly. But that's as close as I can get to getting them in their preferred positions. So we'll try it and see what happens. Never really played Anicic as a striker in 3 or 4 seasons of having him at the club, or at a club I've been at. He might be a superstar striker. That might be where his 5-star potential was all those years ago. Perhaps he should have been playing up front all this time. Vendrick to Ziyech. Let's see what this front four can muster up between them in these strange positions. They might just sort themselves out to where they should be. Get Oscar out to the left, Anicic to the right, Vendrick up front. That's what it should look like. But it's all because Anicic can only... Sorry, boss, I can play central midfielder up front. Or right, I can play right midfield. Don't ask me to play right wing, though. That's completely different to all these other positions I can play. Right, that looks like that moves us up into a Europa League spot. That has been a rather successful episode. 2 wins. We've won our group. We're into the knockout stages of the Champions League. We're only 3 points off Champions League qualification again. Everything's coming up, Kev, today. This is excellent news. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Keep an eye on the channel later on today as well. 7 o'clock today, there is a giveaway/survey thing that I'm announcing. So check that out as well. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And thank you very much for watching.